are an act of an unrighteous man towards a holy God. No value. It's an abomination. No matter if you get the praise of man for your acts, it means nothing. We were saved in order that your acts towards God might be acceptable and might cause His exaltation. That is the purpose of our life. And Paul was clear. He was so clear with his life. He was so clear with his mission and purpose. And now he says, what then? Go to 2 Corinthians, please. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Second Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9. It says, therefore we also have as our ambition, whether at home or absent, to be pleasing to Him. That should be our ambition in life. To be pleasing to Him. You know when you say ambition, di ba? It's something that you're passionate, di ba? It's something that's on your mind. Ambition ko yan. Some people, ambition ko maging pumunta sa Amerika. Maging green card holder. Right? Ambition ko maging successful lawyer. Or successful doctor or a successful architect. But Paul says, make this your ambition in your life because this is the thing that will matter. That you are pleasing to God. And your life will be measured based on that yardstick. If you were pleasing to God. And here, Paul is saying, what then? Only that, in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in this I will rejoice. With that mindset that Paul had, he does not care what happens to his life. He does not care about his circumstance. He does not care about his dreams, his plans, his bank savings, his insurance, his integrity, his shame, his honor. He said, as long as Christ is proclaimed, kahit sinisira nila ako, it doesn't matter to me. Why? Because Christ is proclaimed. That is what is important in the life of Paul. Not what's happening to him. He lives a life wherein he does not evaluate his life based on what's happening to him. A lot of times we evaluate our life based on what's happening to me. Am I happy? Am I successful? He evaluates his life based on what's happening to Christ because of his life. Do you see the difference? His self-evaluation, what gives him joy, is not the things that benefits him, but the things that benefits Christ. And as long as it benefits Christ, even at his expense, everything is good. What a mindset! That's why when Paul said, I've been crucified with Christ, it is no longer I that live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God. Therefore, if Christ is living in you, therefore, what makes you happy is the thing that makes Christ happy. If Christ is proclaimed and Christ is glorified, then good. Why? You're dead. And the one who's supposed to be alive in you is not you, but Christ. It does not matter what happens to you. Alam mo, that's the problem with us eh. We make a big deal of us. Right? It's a big deal. Us is a big deal. Kay Paul, hindi. The big deal to me is Christ. As long as His name is proclaimed, it's all good. He does not think about himself. And I want us to capture that mindset, that attitude that Paul had in his life. Maguho na ang mundo. But let Christ remain exalted in my life. I have only one life to live. We have only one life to live to make our lives count. Why give it away? Why throw it away? One chance nga. Go to 2 Corinthians, please. Second Corinthians chapter 5, verse 15 says, "And He died for all, so that they may live. They who live might no longer live for themselves, but for Him who died and rose again on their behalf." What a nice verse. And He died for all, so that they who live might no longer live for themselves. Yet we like to do that, right? We like to live for ourselves. You know, I say this, and I'm a guilty man speaking here. I'm not. It's a word for me. Clear, no? That they may no longer live for themselves. Is the agenda of God being lived out in your life? Is the agenda of God that His placed for you being lived out in your life? Because of that, Paul doesn't care anymore. If they preach out of the truth, out of love, which is the sincerity of really just proclaiming Christ and nothing else, or out of pretense or hypocrisy. During that time, there is a buzzword. The buzzword during that time is transparency and honesty. A lot of times, people during those days were doing religious act not out of honesty and sincerity. And Paul, if you try to read his epistles, he would address that and say, you know what, guys, are you really doing it out of love for God? Diba sabi sa Romans chapter 12, love without hypocrisy. The very act of loving, which is so good, which is so noble, could be a hypocritical love. Even the act of prayer, right? In Matthew, don't pray like the hypocrites or the Pharisees, who likes to make long prayers in order that they may not be noticed. Remember, we looked at when they were giving tithes in the temple, right? Some of them were giving tithes in the temple, and there was two types of tithe box at that time. One is where they go and they put the tithe there and no one knows how much. And there's another tithe box for the rich people, and when you give there, the one who will receive the tithe will make an announcement that Mr. Cordon gave 20 silvers. Oh, he's such a good man. He's such a righteous man. And there were people doing it out of pretense. Because they want the honor. They want the recognition. And Paul says, I really don't care. It does not bother me. As long as Christ is proclaimed, all is good. And as I was looking at this, I asked myself, are we the same? Why do you do what you do? Why do you act the way you act? What is your motive why you pray? What is your motive why you serve? What is your motive why you worship? What's your motive why you volunteer? Are you helping people because you want to be noticed? Are you helping people so that people will have utang na loob towards you? You know, human nature would dictate that people would be easily abandoned to help those who are high and mighty. But those who are poor, forget them. They're poor. People would easily give their seat to somebody that's powerful and not give their seat to somebody that's down and out. That's why in James, right? That was the issue in James. They were giving the choice seat to the rich because he was rich. And for the poor brethren, they said what? Sit here at my footstool. And God said, don't you realize that man that you're giving the best seat, he's the man that's suing you? He's the man that's keeping you in bondage? We have to ask ourselves, what is the motives on the things that we do? Why do we serve? Why do we obey? And here we see it really doesn't matter to Paul. As long as Christ is proclaimed, what will he do? He will rejoice. It's a life that does not think about himself. I will rejoice. Eh, Bob, nabangkarote ka na. I will rejoice. In all things, give thanks. You know, one of the litmus tests, if you are a man of faith, if you trust God, a good test of that is, do you have a thankful heart? Not because things are going well. You have a thankful heart despite things not going well. If you grumble a lot, if you complain a lot, chances are you probably are not living by faith, but living by sight. Our faith in God is manifested in how we perceive the things that's happening in our life. And when things are not going well, we are able to still thank God. That's a man of faith. Things are not going well, he still has the heart to thank God. Why? Because he believes in the character of God. That he is good, he is holy, he is just. Whatever he's doing is right. clearly